You got entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Outsiders. I'm your host Sean Sims, and I am again with my superstar co-host Marvin Doc Cheatham. Doc, how are things going today?
I am doing simply marvelous. Happy belated Thanksgiving and seasoned greetings to everybody.
Well, it was a great Thanksgiving. I had the turkey and the works, and Christmas of course is coming. People are shopping. My wife's going out shopping. We got boxes coming, all kinds of things. It's getting crazy. Haven't gotten the tree up yet, but we're going to start doing a little decorating. This is my favorite time of the year, other than June, my birthday month. But this is my favorite time of the year. Love the holidays. Like, you having any get-togethers or anything?
No, but I usually like to go to quite a few, being an old man and happily retired and unmarried. I like to go visiting.
Oh boy. Speaking of unmarried, we're going to be talking about Angela also Brooks and Brandon Scott, both unmarried. Hey fellas, Angela also Brooks. Hey,
Well, the word on the street is Brandon was his child delivered in the last couple of days?
No, I don't know anything about that. I didn't hear anything about that.
Was, they were expected any day now.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's the word on the street.
There's some other words on the street too, but I'm not going to get into that. And we all know what I'm talking about. Everyone hearing me, they know, unless you're not from Baltimore, but you can just Google it. But we're also, guys, there's also Brooks. He's a single lady. So anyway, we're going to get into that, and let's start off the way we start off. Oh, I cannot forget, my goodness, our special guest. I'm going to be giving him a call a little bit later. I hope he's ready for it. I hope he's ready for the big time. Donald Scoggins. Donald Scoggins, businessman, and he's going to be our special guest. He's the Republican nominee for mayor of Baltimore City. So we're going to have the Republican, one of the candidates, I should say. He's not the nominee yet, putting the cart before the horse. But he's the Republican candidate who's running. I don't believe there's any other Republicans. I believe he's the only one, Donald Scoggins. So we're going to have him on later as well to find out what he's going to do for Baltimore City, what he can do for this city, because the city needs a change. This town needs an enema. That's from Batman. Yeah, because it does. It's boring, dull. The same boring, dull politics. The same boring, dull, crud people. So let's get some exciting people in there in Baltimore. Stop voting for the same crud people. Jeez, talk about Stockholm Syndrome. Let's get some good people in here. But let's go with the Ravens. Bye week coming up. The Chargers saw the game. It was exciting. The young man who decided to do the Ray Lewis dance in the end zone. Whew, the people I was with, they were pissed. I don't know what that was all about. But
he's considered to be a past mentee of Ray Lewis. That's why he knew it so well. But that was an insult to us.
Yes, that was insulting. Knew it or not. But that's all right. That's okay because they got spanked.
Got spanked.
We're 9-3, and we have probably the toughest schedule in the NFL for the last, I believe, 5 games or so. We have the toughest schedule. Guess who has probably the easiest schedule? And that is the Steelers, the Squealers, the Pittsburgh Squealers. They've got the easiest schedule to finish out. Of course, that's the way because the Ravens always have to fight an uphill battle in the NFL. But
I think it presses us to really get ready for the playoffs. I agree that we have a really tough schedule, but I think that's what makes the good get better. I think if we don't as we don't get serious injuries, I think this is going to put us in tune to go all the way.
I think it will be a good tune-up. You're playing the Chiefs and the top guys in their division, so I think it's going to be a really good tune-up, ending with the Squealers, who I believe they're going to get spanked. I believe. So we'll see what happens with that. But we're cheering for our Baltimore Ravens and the Orioles. Did you hear about the Beast, the Mountain, the American League reliever of the year, Batista? He got it. He got the nod.
Oh, he did get it. I had not heard that.
Yeah,
well deserved. Great turnaround as a reliever. Just sorry he got injured at the end. I just hope his surgery was a success and the recovery is better. But what is that? That's award number 4 for Baltimore?
Yeah, the manager and rookie of the year and what is it? General manager or whatever, Elias. And this is number 4 with Batista. So we're just rolling right along. I'm going to get to the news of what's going on. We're covering this. No one else is covering this, as far as I can see. It's pretty much flying under the radar, and the importance of it is huge. But for some reason, the media is just letting it slide. They won't talk about it. I don't know why. I have my reasons why, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to dig into it a little bit more. But what's going on with the sheriff's office? I mean, you have Worley, who's the police commissioner, and he was on the news and for months, and I don't think he should have been put in. I think it was a mistake. But now you have the Sheriff Cogan guy. Now this is an elected position, unlike Worley's, which is an appointed position. Sam Cogan was elected, and Anderson, he was the sheriff for, 40 years, almost 40 years, a while. But what I'm getting back to me, and I have reliable sources. I have people all over, not just the city, the state. And the information I'm getting back, and I sent him an email. I just don't go off half-cocked. I get in touch with people, I ask questions. And this is the email I sent to Sheriff Cogan, Sam. Is it true that your deputy staff has seen a reduction since you entered office? And the reason I'm asking that is because I'm hearing that people are jumping off of there like it's out of the sheriff's office, like it was the Titanic in the cold water, leaving. And the rest is, if so, then how many deputies have either left, been terminated, or retired from your office? I look forward to hearing from you soon. Sean Sims, host of the Outsiders podcast. Haven't heard anything. Doc, this is troubling. I'm hearing anywhere between 40 to 70 deputies have rolled out, and not on good terms. What does this mean for Baltimore City if that's the case, if people are leaving the sheriff's office, deputies?
Well, the way I look at what deals with employment and unemployment and hirees, I always ask, because all of these city agencies, well, not all, but a significant number of employees that work for the various city agencies, they all have one thing in common. They all belong to a union, which means they're paying someone that should know the ins and outs of what's happening with employment, unemployment, raises, whatever. And similar to what I said last week with reference to the clerk's office, the employees of the sheriff's office should be able to tell us. If not, the union that represents them should be able to tell us. I think we got too many damn unions that are taking money from people and not giving them the services.
Well,
this should not be, these questions that are being posed about city agencies and what's happening with employment should readily be answered by the unions.
I agree.
If the unions don't have it, they should go out of business.
I agree. What use are you? The term is called good for nothing. If you're good for nothing, why are you around? It doesn't make any sense. And then this is another thing I've been getting, and I also sent her an email. Again, here we go again. Mass firings going on down at the Register of Wills office, Belinda Conaway, allegedly. I sent her an email to find out or ask. She did not respond back. Nothing. So I don't know what's going on. The clerk of the court, her kid, Xavier, movements and firings. So I don't know what's going on down at this Elijah Cummings building. There seems to be multiple shakeups. You're talking about the sheriff's office. You're talking about now the Register of Wills. I heard there was a massive firing. Several people just came right before the holidays. Hey, Belinda, real nice. You're a real nice lady. You're a real nice human being. You're firing people right before, I believe it was before Thanksgiving, allegedly. I didn't get a response back from her. I mean, what type of people are you bringing into your campaign, Sheila? I mean, what kind of mess is this? So, I mean, I think it's outrageous.
Is the guy that steals campaign signs still working for her? Hassan Naaman and Homesell Giordano, is he still working for her?
I've seen him at her events. He's
so
there.
He probably double dipping and getting paid by the state's attorney
Wow.
and the register. Bring him online.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not stealing campaign signs next year.
He's working. I'll give him a call. Ask if he wants to come on. I mean, since he had his own podcast and show, so he has no trouble getting in front of a mic or being on the phone in this instance. Because I'm curious, because he has been at Sheila's events. He's been there. And he's working for, of course, as you said, Ivan Bates, the state's attorney. Okay.
And boy, did I run into something the night before last. Ivan Bates, I think is talking too much. I think what he needs to do is introduce some legislation during this Maryland General Assembly session, because right now all he's doing is a whole bunch of talking and people are falling for it. Well, he made a major blunder the other evening.
Oh, wow.
That he was taking, he had one of his employees that was in the audience, had this individual, he wanted to assign that individual to go talk to this lady who was a victim of a crime, and he had her stand up and told one of his employees, give her some services that we have. The woman was not a victim of Baltimore City, she was a victim of Baltimore County. And Scott Schellenberg had to end out saying it, and I'm saying, this boy is so patient to talk about every damn issue, and he talks well. But I don't know what he has delivered here to Baltimore other than a lot of damn talking. And if anybody should be introducing some bills, it should be him. But I sent him a nice letter the other day because an issue came to my attention that the current state's attorney and the former state's attorney would not let citizens question the grand jury and ask that a grand jury investigation take place. And my understanding is the current state's attorney and the former state's attorney don't allow citizens to bring forth a question of bringing in a grand jury.
Okay, well, why? Because why are they doing that? Why are they not allowing it?
What they're doing is they not allowing it.
Yeah, why would they not allow that? What is wrong?
There's a group that has always done a great deal of investigation, and that's the Black Think Tank. And yes, I'm going to salute them today.
Okay.
Don't always agree, but they do their homework and they do their investigation. And one of their issues that came to my attention directly from them was this issue about grand juries. And grand juries are supposed to be community friendly. The same way the consent decree is supposed to be friendly
Yes.
to the public. But I'm saying both are just the opposite. They talk up a game, but at the end of the day, what the hell have they delivered?
Well, there's a
And
saying.
that's what I say about the consent decree.
I agree.
What have they delivered other than talking to us?
There's a saying, and it's called, don't sing it, bring it. If you're running your mouth, and politicians like to pop off at the mouth about what they're going to do, Bates is obviously doing a lot of talking. I don't see much of anything. I hear a lot of verbiage, a lot of words. What my grandfather used to say, wind and britches.
I like that.
He fits that category. I haven't seen much. I haven't seen results. A lot of wind. You know, he's got tall britches. He's a tall guy. Tall britches. A lot of wind. But I haven't really seen much of anything. So
this generation, from my vantage point, talks a great game, but at the end of the day, deliver very little, if anything. I do know this. I totally disagree with the chairman of the Maryland Senate Committee that's going to be discussing bringing forth legislation to strengthen what they've not did this summer with juvenile crimes. But what I do know is that Scott Schellenberger, who I had some run-ins with, well, I shouldn't say run-ins, but communication with when I was state president of the NAACP Political Action Committee. I sent Schellenberg a request, and he sent me a reply in less than 24 hours. And I asked him, could he give us an idea of some of the legislation that was introduced that failed, that need to be strengthened? And in fact, he did send it to me. So that's going to be a part of my presentation on Saturday, because Saturday, I'm glad the black men have allowed me to make a very, very brief presentation. But Saturday, I'm going to declare, as a community president of one of the largest communities in Baltimore, density-wise, I'm calling for a state of emergency as it relates to youth and crime.
I think that's a great idea. I'm going to be there Saturday, so I look forward to hearing that from you. But I think that's a great idea, because what's going on is good citizens, law-abiding citizens, are being tortured. They're being hunted down, tortured, afraid to come out in their own neighborhood, afraid to walk in their own neighborhoods, because you have these hoodlums. That's what they used to call them, hoodlums. I'm going old school. You've got these hoodlums, knuckleheads, criminals, young criminals, and nothing's really being done about it, as far as I'm
Male
concerned.
and female.
Yes, they're just as bad as the boys. The girls are just as bad as the boys, if not worse in some cases. So they're not doing anything about it, and as far as I'm concerned, it looks like they really don't care. They're just going to talk, run their mouths. Oh yeah, it's going to be another 2 years. What's this kid's name? Will Smith? What's his name? Smith? Somebody Smith.
Will Smith is the chairman of the Senate Committee.
Yeah, this kid's talking, you know, off the side of his head, talking about 2 years, now kicking the can down the road. Hey, listen, Will, we don't want to hear that crap. 2 years? You got a lot of nerve to even let those words come out of your mouth. A lot of nerve, as far as I'm concerned.
I've seen some of his work is good.
Oh, well.
But I'm real troubled that we have 4 Maryland senators, and they did nothing to address the crime coming from our youth. And now we're about to go into a session. And I really hope people really pay attention. But even more than that, Baltimore City is in a powder keg at this point, especially as it deals with youth. And if we don't kick out at least half, if not 3/4 of the city councilmen and those folks going to run for office next year, we would do ourselves a disservice, and we can only blame ourselves if we re-elect the majority of these people, because the majority do not need or deserve to be re-elected.
I agree. Kick them out. As a matter of fact, kick out the mayor. As a matter of fact, don't let the fox back into the chicken coop in Baltimore City. You people are voting, saying they're going to, and I don't believe those polls. These polls, they go on, I know how polls are done, because I want to get into that quickly, and then I'm going to give Don Scoggins, who's a Republican candidate for Baltimore City Mayor, give him a call. But I want to quickly get into polls just a little bit. This is the way polls are done, people. This poll that was done a month ago, and it's saying, hey, look everybody, we did a poll. And you have Sheila and you have Brandon. How convenient. Here we go with this two crud candidates. Okay, and then 31%, even though Fox recently put on a broadcast it was 23, they changed the numbers. No, it was 23 and 8. The total was of people not sure and don't know. The total was 31%. It actually matched last year, 2020. It was about 31% undecided. And I'm going to play a clip of that a little bit later. But these polls, the way they do them, no. You got to poll and ask the question of all the other candidates and name the names. If you only name 2 candidates, then you can do a poll and show the only 2 candidates and make it look like it's a 2-person race. So I want to find out exactly how that poll was done, and they're still using the same poll. Trust and believe those numbers have shifted, and those numbers are changing. But they want to paint that narrative, especially Fox 45. They want to paint the narrative, and especially Fox 45 pushing Sheila Dixon. I mean, just pushing. I mean, you talk about unfair.
Excellent.
Wow.
Press conference today by Bob Wallace.
Okay.
Very impressive press conference today.
I haven't heard much. I mean, I know Bob and everything, but they need to do more. The other candidates, period. The other candidates, this is what my advice would be to the other candidates. Forget the 2 leaders. Brandon is crap. He is a backstabbing rat. I'm not even going to get into it. He's crap. Okay, they made an interesting move with him supporting also Brooke, because that brings out the Sheila, black woman, support a black woman. Well, black woman don't support a black woman. Frankly, I mean, I'm go off topic real quick, but I think that Angela Alsobrooke, hypothetically speaking, if Angela Alsobrooke were to be running for mayor against Sheila Dixon, this is a hypothetical. I think Angela Alsobrooke, who is smarter than Sheila, she's better educated than Sheila. She's about 20 years younger than Sheila. She's better looking. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. She's more attractive than Sheila ever was. She's nicer. She has a nicer demeanor. I've looked at her career. I did a little vetting, and I think that the 2 of them, she would wipe the floor with Sheila if it was only the 2 of them, hypothetically. And another thing I'm going to throw out there real quick with Sheila Dixon. And I'm using her because she's the front runner, so the polls say. But if Sheila Dixon was to go up against, let me see. She was to go up against, here's the name, Baker. This guy, Wayne Baker. Just Wayne Baker and Sheila Dixon. Only the 2 of them. Those numbers would be interesting. What if she went up against Bob Wallace? Hey, Sheila Dixon and Bob Wallace. Just the 2 of them. No one else is involved. And this is a hypothetical. How would Sheila do? How would Sheila do against Wendell Freeman? Young man up and coming. Just Sheila and Wayne and Wendell Freeman. And let's say we got Wendy Bozell. I'm using hypotheticals to say if Sheila was going up against just one person, hypothetically, how would she do? That's not the election. I understand that. But if you have a news network pushing you and not giving the other candidates time, and you other candidates, what are you doing? What kind of mess is this? Bob, your people, what are you doing?
You mentioned also, Brooke, because this Saturday at 1 o'clock in the 1500 block of North McKean, that's where we have an entire park block that has been transferred into a park and playground. At 1 o'clock, 1500 block of North McKean, that's in zip code 17, we will have Democratic United States Senator candidate David Trone come to speak. We especially are recruiting U.S. Senator candidates because we're still fighting to get us a food market, even though our state senator, Antonio Hayes, don't give a damn about us.
No, he doesn't. Oh, boy.
But David Trone will be here Saturday at 1 o'clock for 1 hour or less. But one of the issues we will bring forward to him is what can he do to bring us a food market. And we would love to have Angela also to come here, put up her signs, and have her address our community because she is going to run for office. And we're telling folks we're going to invite all the candidates to our community. And if you're a candidate, we want you to contact us. We're going to try to contact you, provided you have run and actually filed. But the overwhelming 87% of candidates have not filed yet.
Well, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call, get in touch with someone who did file, and that is Donald Scoggins. I told him I was going to give him a call around this time, so just hold on a tick. Let me go ahead and give Don Scoggins a call right now. Okay. So hopefully he will answer. And he's running for mayor of Baltimore City on the Republican ticket.
Hello, Sean.
Hey, Donald, you're on the Outsiders with
Okay.
Donald. You're on the Outsiders with myself
You plugged in my phone. Okay.
and Doc Cheatham. Doc, I got Donald Scoggins on the phone.
It's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on this podcast. I tell you.
Well, we wanted I've looked at it, Don, and I saw that you're the only candidate who's running for the Republican nomination
Right.
for the general election. And I know your background. We've talked before, and you're a serious guy. You're a serious candidate. What?
That could be. You know what? That could be a curse. But go ahead.
What do you, if hypothetically, this must be hypothetical day. I must be doing. If you were mayor on the first day of office, what would you do? First day you're in.
Okay. First day in office. I thought about that. The first day in office, there'll be a couple of things I'll try to do. The first thing I would do is establish or arrange a meeting with the chief of police. That's the first thing I would do.
Okay.
Because I feel that the police department, while we want them to ensure public safety, I want them to know that many of these kids are good kids, and I think the approach to some of them can be intimidating to such an extent that they may, how should I put it? I think it may intimidate them to such an extent that they, at a first glance, being kids and not knowing how to cope and everything, they may just be afraid. Because I talked to a lot of them, and I think that's something that's needed. And in talking to the police, I would want them to know that I'm not anti-police. I just think that considering the background of many of these young people, you need to use a little bit of discretion in terms of how you approach them. That's all I'm saying.
So you're gonna.
That's one thing I would like to do, and so I think dealing with the police, because crime is a huge issue in Baltimore, as it is in many other cities. So that's one of the first things I would do, and I got some other things I would do too. But you mentioned on the first day, but I think that will be something that should be addressed.
Okay, so your focus on that first day at least would be in at least initiating a mechanism to reduce the crime.
Right, reduce the crime, and I would also, because I would do this if I'm elected, like in November. If I'm elected next November, I'm not going to wait for the first day in office to do some of these things. I won't have any authority to do them, but I am actually going to be laying the groundwork for them. And one of the things I would like to do is figure out a way to open up more of these youth centers, these youth departments and things for the young people, so they can have something to do. Because I've talked to many of them too. I mean, in a way, I'm kind of like doing this more. I wouldn't say kind of, but my emphasis is going to be extremely youth-based, because I feel that, and this is very unfortunate, but I feel that with all the machinations of politics and everything else and everything you have to deal with, they've been pretty much an afterthought in terms of how we're going to deal with the youth. And you know, I've talked to many of them, you know, and some of it just breaks your heart how they feel that they're being neglected. They even say they're being neglected, you know, and you know, so I think that we need to give them hope. You know, these young people need hope nowadays.
Well, what about the school system?
Yeah, well, that ties into it too. The school system. Now, I'll tell you my view on the school system. I mean, maybe I'm telling my age and everything, which I'm not ashamed to say. But back in the day when I was in high school, even junior high school, we had the trains in the school. A lot of these young kids, the young men particularly, they may not be too interested in academics, but many of them shine when it comes to shop. I remember when I went to a school that had the trades and the academics, and those who in the class who didn't do their academic work, you know, they may be in cut-ups or whatever the instructor want to call them. All they need to do is say, all right, if you don't act right, you're not going to shop, you know. And many of them, they just stuck right up. I'm not talking about high schoolers. I'm talking about maybe middle school age type kids, you know, 13, you know, 12, 13 type of thing. And, you know, not going to shop because many of them come to school just to go to shop, you know.
Well,
when I went to school, they had woodworking, electricity, plumbing. You know, they had a lot of things to do that kind of broke up the monotony of sitting in the class all day.
Okay, so Doc, do you have any questions for Don Scoggins?
I do. First, let me commend and thank you for having the initiative and the fortitude to run for office, especially the office of the position of mayor. Hitting on the issue that you just touched on, Saturday at 10 o'clock, I would be doing a very brief presentation, and I'm calling a state of emergency as it relates to crime and youth in Baltimore City. And one of the things that I'm going to be requesting, and I'm asking the black men, and I don't know your ethnicity, but if you happen to be African American, we would love for you to come to this event given by the Black Men's Group, because
I'm going to be there. I got it on my calendar, you know.
Okay.
And I'm one of us. We're all the same, you know.
I'm going to request publicly that we as men request of Bureau of Recreation and Parks that they begin opening up the over 50 recreation centers that are basically inactive 5 hours a day until we get out of this state of emergency. These rec centers are not open. The one that I have in my neighborhood, all they do is have church.
Right, and you know what the thing that gets me, and I don't know if you all heard, you know, read that information where the young man seemed to be a very nice developer who sang about asking the city for $500 million for that project down to Harbor Place. Did you all see that?
Is that Bramble?
Matter of fact, they're supposed to have an activity tonight.
Yeah, well, I won't be going to that. But let me tell you this. I mean, my background is in housing and in the development and in urban planning, and I can send you through Sean. Text me your email address, and I'll send you my information. But I'm just saying that if I was Bramble, I wouldn't have the nerve to ask the city for $500 million, and the youth centers are closed and everything. I've been up there. I've been up in Sandtown, Winchester. I've been other parts of the city, and it's a crime, you know, and the kids are sitting on the steps of the houses and stuff. Cause I see these kids sitting out, and they see this old man coming up with his gray hair. So I guess they're not going to knock me in the head. And I ask them, how they doing? What's going on? I said, you know what I mean. I'm just curious as to how they were doing and everything. I mean, they're not bothering anybody, you know, particularly, but they just don't. There's no place for them to go.
Wow. And what else in regards to your background, Don? I know you with development and doing type of buildings and projects. And so when I was in the mortgage industry, finance,
Oh, good.
real estate.
Uh-huh.
So I understand a little bit about that, how that works. But could you tell the folks, and we're speaking with Don Scoggins. He is the Republican candidate. He's the only Republican candidate for the office of Mayor of Baltimore City. And could you tell the folks a little bit more about your background, Don?
Okay. Before you say that, before I forget about it, you may want to let them know that I filed on Wednesday, and
Yes,
the
he
press
filed.
is yet to have picked it up. So that kind of tells you something right
I'm
there.
not sure. I'm not surprised.
Okay, you're
That
not
question
surprised.
was coming.
That question was coming. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about my background. My dad was an electrical. I was raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, during the closing days of Jim Crow, and my dad was an electrical contractor in Tulsa, and he had his own business. And when I think about it, I'm kind of marvel of the fact that he started his business in that era. He couldn't have been more than about 35 or 36 years old, mid to late 40s, to take on something like that. But at any rate, he had a tough time because the unions would not allow him to be a member, even though they sent journeyman white electricians to him to train.
Wow.
He trained the union, he trained young white journeyman electricians, but yet he couldn't be a member of the union.
That's how it was.
He was always a permanent sub and everything. I mean, he had work because he was a sub to some of the other larger contractors, but he couldn't be a member of the union, which as a result froze him out of a lot of the, little larger, more lucrative contracts. So that experience has stayed with me, and it's even with me today because I'm going to be very robust in terms of helping small business people, because I'm a limited government type person, because I feel that a lot of the things that the government can do, some of these small businesses can do. So, I mean, and you want to know my background, so that was kind of like in my youth and everything. And then when I was 19 years old, I went to Hampton, majored in architecture. And while I was at Hampton, I had a chance while I was 19 years old to go to Africa, and that was quite an experience. I saw how the Africans worked, and they were very at the time they were extremely interested in the United States, and they asked me so many questions about the United States, and that kind of gave me a feeling of the fact that despite how we in the United States feel about the country, others on the outside feel that this is heaven. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I really enjoyed that. Kind of stayed with me. And then when I left Hampton, I was in ROTC, so I had a military obligation. But before I went into the military, I got my master's in urban and regional planning from University of Pittsburgh. And
I won't hold that against you.
Excuse me?
I won't hold that against you.
The
Pittsburgh thing.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
While I was at Martin Luther King I tell you what, Martin Luther King was supposed to be my baccalaureate speaker, so you can
Oh,
do
okay.
the math. You can do the math with my vintage, I guess. So he was supposed to have been my baccalaureate speaker, and he got assassinated two weeks before I graduated. So I mean, the kind of, I feel like this, the sense of his assassination, just what it did to the country and everything, just from every place you can go, from California, New York, all over the place, it put a sense of really wanting to do good in the black community. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, and that was, like it was in 68, and
68.
we were, blacks were beginning to get their political, how should I put it, spurs, so to speak. We were getting more political representation and things like that. So that put a sense of obligation and do things in my head. So I said, whatever I do, and that's how I got into urban and regional planning, because, in Newark, New Jersey, Detroit, Washington, D.C., just about a lot of the major cities, they went up in flames when Martin Luther King got assassinated.
Sure did.
So that's how I got into urban planning. And another thing was that I grew up, my granddad was an HBCU president, and he always told me, he said that however successful or however you're blessed in life, you have a duty, D-U-T-Y, not an option, but you have a duty to help the less fortunate. He was a minister, you know, he was at Virginia Union for quite a while.
Okay.
So he put that in my head, and I used to bring him in these later years before he passed. I used to drive him up from Richmond to up north. We came to Baltimore many times to see some of his students were ministers. Matter of fact, I don't know if anyone knew Alfred Vaughn.
Yes, Alfred Vaughn.
Alfred C.D. Vaughn.
Yeah, Vaughn, yes.
C.D. Vaughn, yes.
Zion Baptist Church.
Both of us know.
He's the minister of all ministers in Baltimore.
Well, that's kind of argumentative, though.
Well, my granddad was his mentor.
No,
My granddad was his mentor. And,
okay,
and I remember meeting Reverend Vaughn many years. My granddad passed in 1979, so I met Reverend Vaughn, back in the mid 70s and all. So, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have lived during that era of, I would say, greatness within the Black community. And I'm fortunate, I have good health and everything, and I'm retired. I'm a retired board and everything. And so I'm just a friend for the youth. I just assume that I just need to do something and see what we can do. And I do not see where any of the other candidates that have been mentioned so far, that have filed so far, I don't see where they have this kind of a mindset to connect the dots. Now, just how did our community get here? From where, because we're in perilous condition right now, and I don't see anyone addressing that. And I think that we have basically, over the years, we have breeded, B-R-E-D-D, we have breeded an underclass. You know what I mean? And some of the people who are in leadership positions today, I don't think they know what leadership or what dedication is all about. It's not about you. It's about helping the people. And I'm not. And you're right that I'm running as a Republican. And the main reason why I'm a Republican is because when I first getting back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the mid '50s. In the Black business community, the wives of many of the Black businessmen, they went up and down Greenwood and Pine and Greenwood, Pine, Archer, Peoria. They were raising money for Eisenhower. They were passing out little tuna fish sandwiches that they made, and then they gave. And I was carrying the basket of the tuna fish sandwiches, and when they gave us $1.50 or whatever they gave us, we gave them a little button that said "I like Ike," and Ike had developed great esteem in the Black community because during that same time he was the one that sent in the troops to integrate Little Rock High School. So he got quite a bit of play out of that, or esteem out of that within the Black community at the time. And so, then the businessmen were, in those days, I didn't know anything about a Republican or Democrat. All the thing I knew was that they were business oriented, because my dad used to always tell me, he said, you never want to have to depend on a man for your money. And that's what he did. I didn't mean to go over.
Well, Doc has a question for you.
Let me ask you two education-related questions.
Right, sure.
Your position on the CEO of Baltimore City, and your position on Maryland having all the counties have armed security in Baltimore in schools, but Baltimore City is the only public jurisdiction where the police officers in the school can't have their guns. So what's your position on the CEO? And I have reached out to one of the Republican state senators who has agreed to reintroduce the bill to have Baltimore City police armed in the school system.
I think, let me just say this. considering the crime that's going on in these schools and everything, if kids know, or whoever has guns know that these police do not have guns, that may embolden them to do what they need to be done. Because these kids, believe it or not, they may not be academically inclined and everything, but they are very bright, you know. They're very bright, and some of the ones that get in trouble are brighter than the others, you know. So I would reintroduce that. I mean, it will be a sad thing to have to do, but if it has to be done, that's what we have to do, is to reintroduce that, because I think these kids have been somewhat coddled and they have no discipline, so that we may have to take those measures. Now, in terms of the school superintendent, I would get somebody else. I would get somebody else because, number one, I'm very trade oriented, and I don't see what she's even. I mean, you know, I don't see what she's has talked about or advocated having a change in curriculum. I think our curriculum in these schools, particularly in the middle and high school, I think they need to be totally reevaluated. I would be more into the trades, and at an earlier age, I would also take measures to try to introduce young people in terms of what do they want to do. You know, when a kid gets to be 14 or 15 years old, I think they should at least have an idea what they want to go into, you know, what they want to be when they graduate or when they leave school, you know. And if they want to be an engineer or they want to be an architect or whatever, they should at least have that, you know, at least have a dream to do that. Now, just to give you a little bit of story, I tell you, my dad was an electrical contractor, and he used to take me and my brother on some of his jobs on a weekend, and also when he was collecting money from folks, he would take us with him. We'd be sitting in the car, and he'll be going up to the door to get the money. And so my dad, I remember this. He said, son, you could be an electrician too. One of these days, you can be an electrician too. And I said, Dad, I'm afraid that I'll get shot. I'm gonna get shot being an electrician. He said, well, you can be the next. He said, you can be the next best thing, and that's an architect. You know, you call that the next best thing. So I wound up majoring in architecture when I got to Hampton, because I love houses, and because he would go to these. We would go on the south side of south part of Tulsa, where all the white, you know, where the white folks lived, because this was in the mid 50s, and you know, it was very segregated, and we would go in these nice, pretty new homes with the glistening, the shellac floors and everything, and that mesmerized me, you know. So I always said that when I went to college, I was going to major in architecture. So anyway, I'm just saying that I would like for young people to have a dream and also have the ability or have hope that if they want to be something, we will help them be that, or at least put them on a track to be that. That's what I think we need to do, because I talk to these young folks and they just need guidance. They need guidance more than anything else.
Well, I have a question. Now, I have a question in regards to specifically with the young black men. Now, I saw a picture, and I'm going to probably put it on Facebook and talk about it. But there was a picture of Donald Trump, President Trump, and surrounding him were young black men. And the headline had something to do with the vote, the young black vote, young black men. And I talked about this on the show The Outsiders, my show, about a year ago or so. And I went into detail about how the black vote, black men period, are coming over, going away from the Democrats, whether it's to the Republicans or independent or whatever parties. They're pulling away and just looking somewhere else because they've been so disenfranchised by the party and so on. But this picture, I saw this, I said, wow, this is a lot of young black men. They had about 40 black men, young black men around Trump. And what do you think about this phenomenon that is going on with the young black men starting to look towards other parties?
Okay. Well, here's what I think about that. I don't necessarily, in a way, I don't necessarily think they're necessarily enamored with Donald Trump. I think that what they are looking at is just another option.
Yes, exactly.
Another path, so to speak. And the Republicans, and I'll look and I'll use myself as an example. When I was a young kid, I wanted to be, someone asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be rich, R-I-C-H. I want to be rich,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't, because I thought rich was, where it was at. And so which party, and this may be very elementary, but growing up, it seemed like, I know people may not like me saying this, but the party that I thought was for rich people were the Republicans, and the party for the poor people were the Democrats.
But why did you think that?
That's a very elementary type description, But as I got older, I found out that it wasn't quite as stark as that. What it was that the Republicans were more economic and private business based, and the Democrats were more, for lack of a better term, they were more social work type oriented. At least that's the way they had come out to be, and plus my granddad, not to keep talking about him, but he told me if it wasn't for good white people who tended to be Republican from the Northeast up in New England and all these wealthy whites, he said most of the HBCUs wouldn't have been started.
The money that was given.
They helped fund these schools.
Yes.
So that kind of got me into that, and I think that the young blacks, who many of them can't see themselves being in a career for 30 and 40 and 50 years. A lot of them, you ask them, where do you want to be? I want to be a businessman. What kind of business you want to go into? I don't know, but they just want to be a businessman or entrepreneur. They want to be independent, or at least not having to, So the Republicans, I think, talk about that, even if they don't necessarily come up with ways they can do it. I got some ways they can do it, but the National Party, they still go by some of the talking points that made them a great party, even though they are not quite that way right now. And I think that the people, you saw those young men that were around the president, a lot of that was just sort of a photo op type.
Oh no, I understand photo ops.
But it does have some resonance of truth to that.
Yes, it does. Now this is what I'm going to do. Since you're here on the show, The Outsiders, I'm going to play a clip. I want you to hear this clip. I want both of you to hear this clip. And I want you to give a comment on what just recently happened. So let me go ahead and cue that up. Cue this one. Oh, here we go.
And is prepared to go to D.C. and push for us to continue reforms that are common sense to make all of us who are United States citizens more safe. When it comes to our seniors, as we're doing it here in the Zeta Center, Angela gets it. Here in Baltimore, we worked hard to ensure that we properly support our seniors, making sure that our seniors can age in place with the dignity that they deserve by providing more affordable housing units and grants for home repairs in Prince George's County. Angela has prioritized seniors as well. She's worked hard to build affordable housing for older adults, and I know she'll fight just as hard in Washington to get things done for all of our seniors. Right now, there is only one black woman in the United States Senate, and her term will expire on January 2025. And right now, we don't have not a single woman in our congressional delegation, the one that once had the powerful Barbara Mikulski. It is time for Maryland to again lead the way, to show that we...
And I've got to say something real quick, stop. For whatever reason, I listened to this interesting, boring press conference with also Brooks and Brandon. His voice kept cracking. You know how when you were a teenager, it kept doing, I don't know why, but let me go on. I just wanted to make that comment.
We should and can and will have women, capable women leadership in the United States.
Oh, and another thing, because you were just mentioning the youth and the young black men and so on, Don, for whatever reason, Brandon was catering to the senior vote. He said senior and older adults about 6-7 times, and I've never heard him do that. So he's trying to, and you hear that, Sarah? You hear that, Crystal? They work with the older adults and the seniors. You hear that? So Brandon's trying to cater
I
to that.
I heard the part about the housing and everything, and I figured that's what he was doing. But see, he's talking about it. I would be doing about it, you know.
Yeah, he does do a lot of talking.
Several nonprofit housing corporations, and we've been very successful. And I have some ideas. I don't know if you know this or not, but Sean, I can send you this. But I happen to be, and they said I didn't have to resign, but I happen to be one of the commissioners of the Virginia Housing and Development Authority.
So you got a lot of knowledge, yes.
They administer for the state of Virginia. They administer the low-income tax credit program.
Okay, let me go on real quick because I got more of this.
You see it, go ahead.
Let me go, but I do this. I play a clip, I stop, comment, you know. So let me go ahead and continue.
State Senate, and which is why I am asking all of Baltimore to support Angela Alsobrooks, my friend, as the next United States Senator for the state of Maryland.
Okay, his friend. Okay, when did they become friends? And fellas, I'm gonna say this. First of all, before I say this, I'm gonna preface it. I'm a very happily married man with a hot, gorgeous wife who's smoking hot. But for you single guys, Angela Alsobrooks is single. And she's easy on the eyes. But Brandon would have no interest in that. So anyway, let me go on.
Madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. And first of all,
good morning, everyone. She's like Miss Sally from Romper Room. I don't know if you all remember Miss. Really low key, really pleasant, unlike Sheila. But let me go on. Let me go on.
I really want to thank Mayor Scott for his endorsement, and certainly thank him as well for his friendship, and thank him as well for the leadership that he has offered also to Baltimore City. We have so much in common.
Stop that. See, Aunt Angela, you were doing well until you fumbled the ball. Brandon Scott and leadership. Brandon Scott is anywhere near. He shouldn't even be in the room with the word leadership because he has no leadership skills. Okay, he is incompetent. He's arrogant, and this backstabbing deal with BG&E, with this backdoor deal, and the citizens of Baltimore City made it perfectly clear. We do not want BGE owning, controlling the conduit system in Baltimore City. People's rates are going up through the roof. I'm hearing all kinds of horror stories about what's going on. It was because of this knucklehead backstabbing. Okay, calm down. So what do you think of that?
That's a city asset that we should have kept, you know.
This idiot. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let me continue. Got a little bit more. I just want to finish up.
Walked in today. The mayor proudly looked across the street and said, "This is my neighborhood where I."
Yeah, who don't want him around? Let me continue.
Grew up here in Park Heights. Showed me, in fact, that his family.
The people in Park Heights can't stand Brandon. Okay, thank you. Let me go on.
Owns a business that is right across to be the best that they can be, and to aid their health and welfare.
Ms. Alsobrooks, will you be endorsing Mayor Scott for his reelection? Ms. Alsobrooks, will you be endorsing Mayor Scott for his reelection?
They asked her, it was a Fox 45 reporter, I think it was Rebecca Pryor, asked Ms. Alsobrooks, will she be endorsing Brandon since Brandon endorsed her? Normally that's how you do it. You talk these things out. And she shot out of that room. I mean, she shot out of that room.
Yeah, I read that account and everything in the paper.
What do you think? What do you think of that, Don? What do you think of all of that?
You know, one thing, I let the other gentleman talk, and then I give you my version.
Okay, Doc, what do you think of that? Hello, Doc.
Well, I have not met her. She has good credentials as an elected official. I've not had the success of her people responding to 5 emails and 3 Facebook messages I've sent to her.
Are you serious?
She is running for United States Senate.
Oh, boy.
We are interested in having her come to West Baltimore, where we're suffering thanks to Senator Antonio Hayes that got a problem with dark-skinned black people. But we would like to talk to
Oh,
Angela.
come on. What was that?
Yeah, well,
We would like to talk to her.
he's got issues.
We have David Trone coming here on Saturday, and you know, we are very fair as a community group. You know, I don't mind saying that I had probably the largest gathering of Republicans here in our park, because I don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, black or white, straight or gay. The thing is, what are you going to do to help my community? And if you're going to help my community, then I want to support you.
Well, you got in touch with her 5 emails and 3 calls or something to that effect, and
Yes, sir.
she didn't get. There was no response back.
No response.
Okay, this is what I have to say to that. Let me say. Let me.
Cheat him on the line?
Yeah, that's Doc. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I heard the word doc, and then I didn't. Okay.
Superstar. See, on the outside.
Somebody, he mentioned somebody having a problem with dark-skinned black people.
No, that's Antonio Hayes.
I'm talking about Antonio Hayes.
Antonio
It
Hayes.
seems like when it comes to recreation, when
Uh-huh.
it comes to food, when it comes to water pollution,
Yep.
when it comes to early voting, it looks like he tries to do everything for middle class black and white folks, but us dark-skinned African Americans, it seems like he got problems, and that was, you know, I think it needs to be questioned. You know, it's happening too many times that dark-skinned poor people are catching hell from Antonio Hayes not doing anything. He's a state senator.
Yeah, he was invited on the show, okay, and he was going to come on, and his secretary, assistant, or whoever said he's going to come on. I said, why is this pompous? First of all, who does this guy think he is? He doesn't directly deal with me. That's strike 1 and 2. And then the skateboard park, which was approved, and the skateboard park was going to be in a predominantly black area, and black kids do not have a skateboard park. They have to go to white areas to skateboard. And this knucklehead crud human being, he axes it with the cut, just stops it. So he snatches from black kids, he snatches the skate park away from them, and this is after it had been approved. Don, this is what this guy did. So Doc has credibility in what he is saying, and some people, and I'm going to tell you this, Doc, I'm not going to name names. They get the show, they hear the show, and they know who I'm talking about. They were kind of aghast, and they were kind of incensed and appalled that why would Doc say dark-skinned people, light-skinned people, and he's got a problem with dark-skinned people. Hey, that's been the history of black people in America. I don't know where you've been, but that is something that goes on. It was called the brown paper bag test. Remember that?
I know,
Remember that?
I know what you mean. It's kind of like the Howard University thing. You know?
So we're just saying all of this because there's credibility and credence to what he's saying about Antonio Hayes and what's going on with that. But in regards...
Well, you know what, Sean, I might as well tell you, I got a color problem too. You know what my color problem is?
What's that?
Green.
I knew he was going to say...
I guess.
Well, it's not a problem. I have a preference. Maybe that's what I was saying.
You know what?
I like it.
Money talks. Money talks, and you know what walks. So...
Well, see, that could be a problem. I think, with all due respect, and as you know, Sean, and I guess Doc Cheatham and everyone else know, I'm a recent resident, or at least established residency in Baltimore.
Yes, I'm aware of
You have
that.
to be a resident. So I'm not shying away from that. And,
No, don't.
And I think that not being from Baltimore, even though I'm well aware of the issues in Baltimore, but not being from Baltimore, it gives me I have a fresh look. And number one, I'm not entrenched, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
As soon as I really started doing all this, I started seeing where different people, and I'm not going to mention names either, everybody's all intertwined with who, you know, I know so-and-so. And
Yeah.
it's always that kind of thing. And I don't think I'll have those inhibitions, because my main thing is trying to make Baltimore work for everybody. And being in the Mid-Atlantic, about 40 some miles from DC, and you're in the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest states in the country. There's no reason in the world why Baltimore is like it is. You know what I mean?
Exactly, exactly, because you have the people who vote for the same people over and over and over again, and this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do, because I want you to comment on this too. And we've everyone who's listening, YouTube audience and people who are listening, we have Don Scoggins. He is the Republican candidate, the only candidate so far for mayor of Baltimore City, and I'm going to go over briefly, because this has to do with the election and what I believe. Forget what I believe. This is what they're doing. I know it for a fact. They are pushing a two-candidate race. It's just this inner fighting between Sheila and Brandon, and they're trying to push this and leaving everybody else out of the picture. I think that people shouldn't fall for this, but the Baltimore Brew, I know she's a friend of yours, Doc, Fern Shin. I'm not a big fan. Fern and I were okay at one time, and then she did something she shouldn't have done with me, and that's not be straight, because we're the outsiders and we're straight shooters. But she did have something in her Baltimore Brew, and it has to do with Sheila Dixon, the corruption case, and her announcing that she was running again for mayor. And it's in a brew. You can read. It's interesting. But this is what I'm going to do quickly. I'm going to go over and I'm going to read just for about a minute or two. Okay, indulge me. This is the reaction. These are the reactions of people who read the brew in the comments section after they talked about Sheila, and then the kind of way supporting Sheila, and she was running, and people, I'm gonna run again because I was in my private life, and when I was in my private life, I liked my private life, and then people kept saying, Sheila, you need to run because we need to fix Baltimore, and I said, no, honey child, I'm not gonna run. I'm in my private life, and I like my private life, but I had to run again. All of that, right? Okay, here are some of the comments, okay, after the article. Completely shameless and very typical for most Democrats these days. Committing felonies is practically a rite of passage, okay. There's another comment, because there was a bunch of them. She is a convicted felon, but never mind that. Election fraud is so rampant in Baltimore that even a rotting corpse could win on a Democratic ticket, and the corrupt courts would back it, and the FBI Gestapo would arrest you if you complain about it on social media. Okay, that wasn't the FBI part, They got some fine people that work for them. Some of them are friends of mine, but you do have some things that are in the upper echelon that you guys need to work out. But anyway, and here's another one. Baltimore's corruption isn't related to people voting improperly. It's who the politicians are indebted to for their wins and the corrupt or downright illegal acts they commit to repay those debts. There's a few more I've got to read, and here's another one. It's incredible what bad and corrupt leadership, in quotes, we have to deal with in this city. And last but not least, ugh, the Conaways. Maybe they are there to make Dixon look clean. Now, these type of comments go on and on and on, and with social media, with the other media outlets, what I've been seeing does not match these poll numbers that show Sheila being so favored. They're about, I'd say, anywhere between 70 to 85% negative on Sheila Dixon. I know you don't want to rip other candidates and stuff like that, Don. I will. That's my job. My job is to rip and tear and slash and tear and to tell the truth when you have knuckleheads. But what I see in you is I see someone who has integrity, which the city needs. I see other candidates, even on the Democratic side, Don, who have integrity. And my thing is this, and the outsiders' thing is this. We want to shed light on the other candidates, the outsiders, not the two. Sheila and Brandon need to go. They need to go. It needs to be a fresh day, a new day, and to have somebody of your caliber, Don, on the show is fantastic. What do you have to say to the people on that?
Who, you want me to answer that?
Yeah, what do you think? What do you have to say?
I'll tell you what, you know what I decided I'm going to do?
Uh-huh.
I want to kind of like introduce a new slate in Baltimore, and I really don't want to get into the who did what when. And
No, don't worry, I'll do that.
Oh, you do that?
No, I'll do that.
Okay, you do that.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I agree about the maybe the outsider status, and when I think about it, to me, I think that could be a plus because I've been around. I haven't just been one place for many years because housing is my interest. Urban planning is my interest. I love to build things, and I love economics. I love talking about creating generational wealth. Not that you have to be a Bill Gates type billionaire, but I think that in this day and time, it's not hard. I feel like that it's not hard to at least be have a few thousands of dollars by the time I'm just amazed at how much economic potential Baltimore has, and it's not being we're not capitalizing on it. And one of the things that really bothers me too is that I don't want to make it a racial or ethnic thing, but within 10 or 15 years, the black community, if it's not already, we're going to be very irrelevant, because the other ethnic groups are coming here without some of the cultural issues that we have, and they're able to function and do better and do well, and we're stuck in a rut when it comes to certain things, and we're going to be left in the cold.
But you have a lot of grifters. You have a lot of grifting in Baltimore. That's why the money.
I didn't want to. You know what? I didn't want to mention that, but you're absolutely right. I'm not going to tell you certain people that I've talked to and everything, and they're kind of. They're not necessarily in favor of me doing what I want to do because maybe they feel I'm going to upset the apple cart. I don't know.
Yeah, you're definitely going to do that. But this is what I got to do because I'm telling each candidate that comes on, and we're going to have other candidates coming on. But I want to have you back on, Don Scoggins. Thanks for coming on, The Outsiders. And man, it's been a pleasure. And we're going to talk some more because people need to know about the other candidates. They need to know that there are quality people who are running, who will do a better job than Brandon and do a better job than Shady Sheila and Slim Shady Brandon. So, Don, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate Doc and I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
very much. I appreciate it.
Take care, Don.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Don Scoggins, and I'm going to go over, and Doc, what do you think of him real quick?
I'm impressed. I think I had met him. This past summer, I had the Republican Party here at our park and playground. Must have been close to 70 or 80 of the Republican Party here because we wanted them to know as a community we're anxious to talk to as many people, diverse as we can, to help us address the problems and the shortcomings that we have. I'm very impressed with his dialogue. I want to send him our questionnaire because that let us know exactly where he stands on the issue. But I'm hoping that I will see him. I think I've met him, but it sounds like he knows about the Saturday 10 a.m. men's breakfast, and then later on at 1 o'clock, 3 hours later, we have David Trone to come, and I would love him as a candidate to come because we want the Democrats, the Republicans, the Green Party, we want all of them to know that we need improvement, we need help. And we're not concerned about the party affiliation, the race, the sexual preference. We want people that want to help us improve our community.
Well, that's exactly what we want to do. And I'm going to, one more segment, I have to go over this because I was looking this up and what Bishop Barry Chapman, who was our guest last week, and what he was talking about, bird poop. And the asbestos we were talking about that is allegedly all over in the courthouse buildings, and the health and safety issue. And of course, we still haven't had our question answered: who was responsible for locking those people in that courthouse during an anthrax scare? Still haven't had that answered, and I'm still going to be working on it because I ain't no quitter. So we're still going to be working on all that. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a clip. People have to listen to this. Now, this was several years ago, and this seems to be an ongoing situation at that building. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the firing and the building and the safety and the health, but let me go ahead and cue that up. Okay, Q2. Here we go.
Well, some employees were to stage a walkout around 2 o'clock this afternoon. They did, but then they went back in saying they were threatened. And a union spokesperson says that's intimidation by the court. Employees of the Mitchell Courthouse say that there are bugs biting them, leaving them with rashes and bites. The areas in question are the clerk's office and various juror holding areas. The administration's office of the courts confirms the reports. Today, a union rep says he's been aware of the problem for 2 years, and this is no way to run a workplace.
The court ain't above the law either. No, not for real. They got some issues about health and safety of employees in buildings. And they responsible for their employees. They responsible for them, they hire them. Yeah. All we're saying is that do right by your employees. The courts is not above the law.
Late this afternoon, I got this information from the Maryland courts. They say that today 3 dead bed bugs were found in a confined area of the criminal clerk's office. There was no infestation, but limited introduction. They say that pest control will be here at the courthouse tomorrow, and a K-9 will go throughout the rest of the building. Reporting live, Lisa Robinson, WBAL TV 11 News.
There's more.
City Circuit Court workers protest filthy conditions. Roughly 40
Now this is from the Baltimore Sun. So people listen up to this because this seems to be an ongoing thing.
Baltimore Circuit Court employees and their union representatives marched to City Hall Monday afternoon, complaining of dangerous courthouse conditions and threatening to sue if they don't get funds for new office space, as prosecutors have been separately promised. If we're left behind, that's not justice, said Pat Kelly, president of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 3674, which represents members of the Circuit Court Clerk's Office. The group camped briefly in front of City Hall, waving signs listing their grievances. Rodents, bugs, contaminated air, soiled restrooms, deplorable conditions. Every day when I go in there, I have to sanitize my desk because of the mice droppings, Kelly said. We have to do our own cleaning, we have to do our own sweeping, it's just filthy. Courthouse complaints are nothing new. The ancient buildings, split into east and west sections by Calvert Street, have been in need of repair for decades. Doors are held together with duct tape, ceiling tiles are missing, water fountains don't work, bathrooms are barely functional, and it's been years since the electrical systems were up to code. Some also believe the buildings are making them ill. It's awful, Circuit Court Clerk Frank M. Conaway Sr. said in an interview this month, after sending out a news release calling attention to the need for renovations. Though the city pays for the courthouse's upkeep, Conaway said he has used $175,000 of his own budget to repair and refurbish several clerks' areas during the past 2 years, and he plans to spend an additional $170,000. Renovations, including a new building, will cost between $530 million and $620 million, depending upon whether you count prosecutors' needs in the mix. Administrative Judge Marcella A. Holland, who oversees the buildings, said in an interview last week. She acknowledged that the courthouses are in rough shape and not the healthiest to be in, but says her hands are largely tied by a lack of funds.
Now this was when Frank Conaway was the clerk of the court. And the information I'm getting back from Bishop Barry Chapman, who was on the show last week, and others, and people who have retired, is that you had a lot of this still going on, Doc. This is still going on. Safety and health, employees. Now you got people being locked in if there's an anthrax scare or fentanyl or biohazard scare. They're locking them in the courtroom. Bird poop, nettings down, all kinds of issues going on. Asbestos. Doc, what do you think of what you just heard?
Well, I think the health department needs to be brought in, officially and formally. I think a formal request by the union needs to be made, outlining what the challenges are that the employees are documenting, because that's the best way to get it. But I also want to say, and I'm going to sound very redundant with this.
That's okay.
But why should we have unions and they don't represent the people that they have? This goes all the way back to Frank, when Frank was there. And I'm saying, this isn't something new. This is something old.
Yep.
Union, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't want Barry to get in the middle of this, because I think the union needs to be voted out. I think another union needs to be brought in, because all these problems we have, the union has been made aware of it, and they've done nothing. Why threaten that you're going to file a lawsuit? I filed 3 lawsuits. I won 3 lawsuits, 3 class action lawsuits. You know, people can tell, oh, I'm going to file a class action lawsuit. Well, damn it, you haven't done it.
Then do it.
I'm saying to the union, you are not properly representing the employees in those 2 courthouses. You've known about these problems almost a dozen years, and they've not been rectified. I blame the union. Y'all need to get a new union.
Well, I think it's a disgrace. You got Washington Conaway changed his name, so Frank's grandson is in there. He doesn't know his head from a hole in a wall. And the people are, Bishop said last week, I mean, the civil rights are being stripped, allegedly. There's all types of horrifications that are going on. And this whole situation, I think this thing is gonna blow up with this situation, with the people there. There needs to be lawsuits filed. There need to be multiple lawsuits filed. And instead of running your mouth and talking about it or being scared, and these unions not doing their job, you need to get out. Look, if you're not getting the job done, then you need to hit the bricks, Jack. You need to go. You need to go. If you're not helping the people, taking their money, taking dues, and you're not doing jack squat. And this sort of thing was years ago they were talking about this. And this sort of thing, to some degree, I don't even know how exactly bad it is. I guess you'd have to speak with every employee there to find out their situation. But you're right, Doc. Redundancy, there's nothing wrong with that.
Ask the health department to come in and do a questionnaire, a survey of the employees who work in the building, and that will give you the documented proof of where the employees feel they are with health conditions. But at this point, I think we're beating a dead horse. The employees and the union that represents them are not willing to answer hard questions, put out a questionnaire, health conditions in both buildings, get the people to fill it out, and then if the health department doesn't want to move on it, sue the health department, starting with the mayor.
That's what I think. Go for it. This needs to be done. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it, all the other craziness that's going on. Then, and here's another, just before we leave, I got to throw this in. I received this across my desk. This is City Hall now. City Hall with alleged discrimination, retaliation, and harassment in City Hall. And the information I'm getting is that this has been ongoing. And here we go again. Baltimore City crap, corruption, crud people. And I'm going to be doing a deep dive into this matter with what's alleged is going on at City Hall. So, I mean, you're right, Doc. The outsiders will keep digging and doing what we do because we're here to do 2 things. We're here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And we're all out of bubble gum.
What are you prepared to do?
What are you prepared to do? Thanks, Doc, for another great show. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching The Outsiders. Take care. God bless. Take care, everyone.